Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Locker Room, where we endeavor to inform, to enlighten, and empower. Listen, thank you again for joining us for the month of June for the Locker Room. We are excited about this month's edition. We are talking with fathers tonight. And so I'm excited to have on the gentlemen that I do have who are going to be with us tonight. But the first thing I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and I want you to like, share this broadcast. If you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, I want you to like it and then subscribe so that you can follow us and be with us as we have other broadcasts. I see we have folks that are coming on. So I am super excited, man, for tonight to be talking to these great men that we're going to be talking to. And we do have one of our panelists is with us, and a couple of our panelists they just run a little bit late, ran into some difficulties, and so we hope and pray that everything is good with them. But they are on their way to be with us tonight. And as you know, things happen, and you can't always control everything, but things happen, and they will be with us tonight. But they're just working through some difficulties at this point. And so, without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and get this party started tonight. And so I do want to bring our first panelist on tonight. And I've gotten to know this young man for maybe the last year or so, up close and personal. And I tell you, he's one of the most genuine brothers you ever wanted to meet. And just great in terms of his character, his integrity. And that says a lot, because as men, one of the things we pay a lot of attention to and most attention to is the integrity and character of other men that we encounter, because that means something. And I can say that he is indeed integral, minister of the gospel. He's also a musician, and I'm proud to be in relationship and be connected to him in this season of my life, because you need strong brothers around you. You need some men that have some strength that can also sharpen you, as we know, iron sharpens iron. And so I'm excited. So I want to bring him on to the locker room. My guy, Minister Drew Dockery. What's going on, sir?
What's going on, Pastor Blair? Can you hear me? I'm
I
sound all
can
right?
hear man, I can hear you great. You sound good. What's going on with you tonight?
Can't complain, man. Just relaxing, enjoying the first day of vacation for the summer,
Awesome,
and
awesome,
just
man.
looking to have fun this summer, man.
All right, sounds good, man. So listen, we're going to go ahead and just kind of get this going. And before we do, I just do want to say again to those who have joined us, go ahead, hit that like button, hit that share button, so that others can join you on tonight. This is going to be a powerful time tonight, and I'm just excited to hear what these brothers have to say. And I promise you that whatever is said will be both insightful, will be empowering and enlightening. And that's what we endeavor to do in the locker room, is to inform, to enlighten, and empower. That's what we endeavor to do. And so we're gonna go ahead and get this thing rolling. Drew, you ready? I'm ready. You ready?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right.
Always.
Well, we're gonna go ahead and get this thing going. And so tonight we are talking about the journey of fatherhood, talking about, and I called it the real heroes, because oftentimes, as we see in society, that fathers sometimes are overlooked, and fathers are not always celebrated as much as I believe they should be, especially the good ones, especially the ones who who made the decision to stay once they had kids. They decided to stay. They didn't run away from the responsibility, or they didn't take the responsibility but then back away and back out, and they weren't in and out, but they were consistently there. And sometimes for black men, we all get kind of joint into one group. And
Yeah.
so, but before I can tell you, my one of my other panelists has just jumped on, so I'm going to bring him on. And he's another one. I've been knowing him literally, I think, since high school. I've been knowing him since high school. And one thing about him is, as for me, he's always been the same person. Always been the same person. Always been somebody that's shown me love and respect over the years, and I've shown it to him. And he's one of the baddest musicians anywhere. I would put him up against anybody, and he's one of the baddest musicians anywhere. And anyone who knows him in the industry, in the church, nationally or internationally, everybody knows who Jimmie Smith is, and they know what he brings to the table, not just as a musician, but also as a pastor, had leading his own ministry, and he's also doing some great things in the business industry out there, making some waves. And so I'm excited that he was able to take some time and be on the locker room with us tonight. And so I just want to bring to the stage my friend, my guy, Pastor Jimmie Smith. What's going on, Pastor Jimmie?
Yo, what's up, fellas? We here, and tonight, first question I want to ask, can you hear me good?
We can hear you real good.
All right. Second thing I want to say is thank you. I did not send no tithe. I did not pay him to say everything he said. Blair, I just want to tell you, man, thank God for you. Man, it's good to be on tonight, and good to be with you all, and to this other king that's on here, and talking about something that's really dear to my heart. I have been a father for 14 years now. My baby's 14, and I'm what you call a girl's dad. And
I'm right here, same here. I'm with you.
Yeah. So to be on tonight is great. To be on this platform, Dr. Blair, what you taking the steps of faith to even move and do this. I admired it from afar. Never thought I would be on, and here we are. So I take it as an honor and a privilege. And thank you for having me tonight, man. I'm super excited.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you stepping on and spend that time to be with us. And so, but just kind of go what I was saying, I was just talking about fathers, just kind of really introing the topic tonight, and talking about the fact that fathers are really heroes.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, we're not as celebrated as we should be, and particularly for the African American father, because we unfortunately fall under the bunch of, if one is bad, they all bad. If one dad runs, they all run, And so the ones that actually have stayed and actually have taken the time to help raise the child that was made, we oftentimes get overlooked because the bad ones get all the attention. And not saying bad as in person, but they just weren't good fathers. They ran, they decided they didn't want to be a part, they didn't want to take the
Right.
responsibility, and
Yeah.
unfortunately we just all get lumped into the same bunch. And so I want to talk about tonight that journey, because the other thing is, the journey is also a little bit different for men of color than it might be for other ethnic groups. It's just a little bit different. So the first thing I want to throw out here to talk about is, um and I shared this with you all when I sent you the points that were kind of pondering on my heart when I came up with this topic. And one of those was, when you become a father, married or not married, sometimes it's the shock of it. It's like, wait a minute, I'm about to be a whole dad.
Right.
Like, whoa, wait a minute. So I want to throw this out and just ask you both, what was it like for you at the initial shock? Like the initial finding out, I'm gonna be a father, whether you were married or not married. What was that first, like, whoa, when you found out I'm finna be a father for the first time? So I'm gonna go ahead and let you go ahead, Minister Drew, and then we'll go let Pastor Jimmie chime in.
Okay. Well, I will say I was a teen dad. I'll be honest. I was a teen dad. I had my first son at 17. Um, and I don't think it really registered until Father's Day. So my son's birthday is May 29th. It didn't dawn on me until my dad gave me a Father's Day gift, a Father's Day card. And I woke up that Sunday morning, and I'll finally open the card, and I'm reading the card, and I really couldn't process it like, man, I have just stepped into manhood. It hit me, and I was like, well, what's the next move now? We got to get serious. We didn't graduate high school, about to graduate high school. And it's time to get serious now. No more, running with the fellas and hanging out and chilling. You got to start to really get serious and figure out a plan, because you have somebody you have to provide for. And I think that's the biggest thing. I think is really understanding what your role is as a father. So I through my studying now as a father of some adult children, I get it, and I'm like, I have to do one of four things. There's four things I'm supposed to do as a father in my beliefs. Number one is I'm supposed to protect. Number two is I'm supposed to provide. Number two is I'm supposed to correct. Number three is correct, and number four is instruct. So I have to do all of those things in the midst of carrying out, a mandate of, being a father. To me, it's bigger than just having a child. It's a lot bigger than just, doing what you want to do. It's really, you have to really be responsible for how you move. And even at that time, growing up around the friends I had, told a lot of them, I'm like, hey man, if we can't go somewhere and you not getting in the fights, or we can't go to the mall without somebody want to knock your block off, like, bro, we can't hang together like that. Cause I got a little man with me. He's going with me. He's going to hang out, and he's watching everything he sees me involved in like a sponge. So it just made me a lot more mindful. It made me a lot more careful about how I moved. And really got, I would say, geared in on, what my goals may be or what I want life to look like as an adult. So it was a very big wake up call for me. And at that moment, I just realized, oh man, you just stepped into a whole nother realm of being a human at that point.
That's good, man. That's good. You made some great points. When you said, I think you said instruct, correct,
Mhm.
protect,
And
and what
And
was the
provide.
provide.
other one? And provide. That was good. I like that. Come on, Pastor Jimmie.
Man, I was excited. So I didn't have the same story where I grew up. I think you said as a teen dad.
Yeah.
Uh, I was married 5 years. We were 5 years in, and I was pastoring a church in Arkansas. And I remember me and my wife, we used to be driving back and forth between Tennessee and Arkansas. And I always wanted
Mm.
a little girl. Like some guys, say, I want to have that son. A son would have been nice, but I just had this thing. I just always wanted a little girl. And we was about 5 years in being married, and we had two miscarriages before my daughter came. And when we found out that we were, pregnant and everything, and we were on our way to New York, and my wife, I was picking up from the airport. It was on our way to Buffalo, and I was picking up from the airport, and she told me to take her by Party City. So I'm, of course, being a typical husband. I'm like, for what? I'm fussing. Like, girl, we gotta, because we was going to do something with the family, and she's like, take me by Party City. As soon as I picked her from the airport, and she came out with a pink bow on her stomach, and it said, "It's a girl." Man, I start crying. I'm like, oh my
Wow.
God. But my point about traveling back and forth to Arkansas was I used to talk to my daughter in the back seat, and she wasn't even there. So I used to pretend it was the little girl in the back seat, and
Mm.
it was just a thing, man. And years later, she came, and the day she was born, I when we know she was going to be born, I went and got a haircut. I went and put on a suit. It was in my mind that I wanted her to come into the world meeting her father, even though she was a little infant, don't know anything. And man, I was nervous in the sense where I was trying to think, am I good enough? Like,
Mm.
do I have everything together? Because I'm getting ready to receive this little human, and I wanted to be more, and I wanted to be whatever. So I thought, well, let me go get my haircut, let me go put on a suit, because she getting ready to come into the world. And I remember after my wife had our daughter Megan, and I remember them giving the baby to me. I don't know if this happens everywhere. She was born in Nashville, and I remember them letting me take her. And I'm walking down the hallway and going back up to the other floor in the hospital. And I just remember looking at her and looking at this little girl, and me and this little girl have been like this ever since. She got an attitude right now because she's in Buffalo, and I left her, but she needed to be there because, you know. But we've been like this ever since. I've been taking my daughter on daddy-daughter dates since she was like 2. She didn't even have a clue what was really happening. I've always been the dad to have my child with me. I don't know what it is with certain men and fathers who don't want to spend time with their children and who don't participate in their child's life, who don't provide, who don't protect, who don't correct, and everything that my brother was saying, like, or instruct. You know, it's like when you are a father, that instinct is supposed to be there. That anointing, that thing is supposed to be. And it's amazing to me. And that's why this conversation tonight is so crucial, because I'm confused at some of the men who just, you know, what they call deadbeat dads, but who's just not there. Who's, you know, why would you not want to love your child? Why would you not want to be a part of their life? And I'm, over the years, as a pastor and as a father, I've come into situations as a pastor, seeing other people, you know, pastor and, you know, people, and hearing situations where, like, they're, you know, some guys are paying like $25 a month in child support, or $85 a month in child support, and doing the bare minimum. And we have these children that we are responsible for that's going to come out into the world. And some of these young girls and some of these young men, they're facing something different than what we did growing up. I think we had a good life growing up in Buffalo. You know, being, you know, just church. We had safety. We had community. But this world is different with the internet and AI and, you know, cyberspace and all whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, I was excited. I was totally excited. I'm still excited. She's the only person really in this world I can look at and literally start crying just by looking at her, because I should have been Father Abraham, who had many children all over the world. But I'm not. I got one. I could have been. It could have been me. Shut up. But the Lord spared me.
I hear you, Doc. Yes,
I got
sir.
one,
Yes, sir.
And my thing is, I cannot fail this one that I got. I can't fail. I got to be there. I show up. I am there. So, you know, I love being a dad.
That's awesome, man. That story. But I gotta ask you this, the same because Drew, you had all sons, right?
No, I got a daughter. I got a
You do
daughter
have a
in
daughter.
between. In
So
between, I got two. Well, one older son.
yeah.
Then I got my daughter, and then I got my youngest son under her, and then I adopted a son.
Okay. So did you have a preference? Because Pastor Jimmie said he was just, it was a daughter for him. So did you have a preference of what you wanted, where you kind of like say, I want me a son, I want me a couple sons, and did you have a preference, or were you like, just give me a healthy child?
At that age, I mean, having a healthy child was a must. Period. Like, that was my biggest thing. As long as they're healthy, I was willing to accept having a daughter. But yes, I did desire a son. I'll be honest,
Okay.
because my sister has like 5 daughters, and they all grew up in my house with my mom and my dad. So I'm like, man, it needs to be some more fellas around here. ain't nobody here but me and daddy. Something got to change.
Right.
When when I do get a chance to choose, I would hope, it was a son, and the Lord blessed me with a son.
Yeah.
So I was happy about that. But I mean, when I had my daughter, I think she softened me up a lot. Like, she made me a lot more considerate. I mean, even I was still young, but I had been a father for quite a few years, maybe 7, 8 years. And by the time she came around, it was just like, okay, it's more to life than just basketball and Jordans. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think she softened me up a little bit. So yeah, I was happy when I finally got her, because she's amazing. She's one of the funniest people in my family, to be honest, to me.
That's cool. And so with Pastor Jimmie, what was it about having a girl? Like what was it about having a daughter that had you at a place where it's like, I want a daughter? You know, what was it? I don't know if maybe it was maybe sisters growing up or just, but what was it?
I don't know. I just always think I was born to be a girl dad. I don't know.
Okay,
A
okay,
son, a Jimmy Smith. Like I'm named after my dad, so a Jimmy Smith. The second, so it would be a JS3. A son would have been nice. I don't know. Always had this love for thought of when I do have a child, if I ever have a child, that it would be a little girl,
gotcha,
and God just gave me my heart's desire, to be quite honest.
gotcha.
And I'm so into being a dad, I'm so into being a father, that it wasn't just any little girl. It's particularly the little girl that I have
Hmm.
that that just really makes a difference for me. So um, I'm grateful, man. I'm just grateful because I didn't have kids till once we were like 5 years in marriage, and we've been married for 20 years now. So it was a little later on, and so at some point I was thinking, well, maybe I'll probably never have kids. I didn't know, but
Mm.
so she was just a blessing. I don't know. It's just a thing that I felt like I'm a girl dad. I just felt like
Gotcha.
if I was as a father, not that I wouldn't be good as a father to a son. I think I would have been just as good, because my parents were there. My parents was in my life, and my dad was a pastor, and my
Hmm.
mom, and we grew up in church. And I just love the concept of family,
Mm.
having a family, and that's why I am so. I just detest the whole thought of a man not stepping up to his responsibility, even if you're not with, if you're not married, or you're not with the baby's, mother, or whatever that is. That child is yours. Men should be there, especially
I
black
agree.
men.
Yeah,
I
I
agree.
agree.
And
Definitely
you
agree.
go ahead. Did you want to say something, Drew?
Oh
Or you
no, I
good?
was just saying
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
in 100% agreement.
Yeah. It's the same here. And what that kind of walked me into the next question I wanted to throw out, because the experience of fatherhood for the African American males, I said in my intro, is very different.
Mm,
It's very very different. And part of it has to do with, I believe, the experience that a lot of us have or have had growing up. And all of us have varying experiences. Like for myself, I had both my mom and my father. And I grew up in church all my life. I was raised in church. My mom was a singer. She was the minister of music at our church for a whole lot of years. My father was heavily involved in church, superintendent of Sunday school and other stuff. So, I don't have the testimony of saying I didn't have both my parents. I did. However, there are a lot of men that we know. There was a lot of guys I went to high school with and in our neighborhood didn't have their father. Some of them didn't even know where their father was
mm.
or had ever met them before. So when it comes to them having a kid, there's the challenge that kind of comes in with being a dad. So I want to kind of throw it at you all because, again, you guys have grown up in neighborhoods and you know a lot of guys and a lot of men. And so what were some of the challenges that you see that as African American men that we face when it comes to fatherhood? What are some of the things that kind of pull at us that some of us embrace it, some of us run away? And so we whoever wants to start can just jump right in.
Well, I just want to say real quick. I think one of the main things that I see is as black people, as black men, or black women, our history, um, a lot of the slave mindset, the slave mentality that is passed down through generations. And when I was coming up, my dad was a man's man. He was preacher. He was a businessman. He had a job. You know, he can change brakes. He can paint a car. You know, my dad, it was nothing that he couldn't do. There's half of the stuff he could do. Like I can't hardly do none of that stuff he could do. But my dad knew how to make things happen.
Right.
And I think it's the trauma that Black people have experienced over the years that for men, for Black fathers, that it makes it a little different for them, and especially economically, because most people have been programmed to work a job. And back in the day, working a job, you worked at Delphi or General Motors or, you know, one of the plants.
Mm-hmm.
You had enough money to take care of a home, have a family. And it was a plus if the wife worked. But if they didn't, you know, Big Daddy or whoever, you know, working at the plant, they brought on that check.
You
and
got
back
it.
then, it was like you was, you know, whether he was Pentecostal or Baptist or whatever, you know, all was well if you had a good job. Now you got to have multiple streams of income.
That's a fact.
That's
and
right.
then you living
That's
in a
a fact.
world. I can't think of the millionaire's a Black guy here in Atlanta. He's not alive now, but he wrote a book about, you know, why all the white men get to have all the fun. In other words, you know, saying Black men being able to step to the business world and sit at the table, and it's like there's this wealth gap, and there's this, you know, of 400 years, and you know, and things of that nature. So I think one of the challenges as Black men is where do we fit in, and then like how do we get to play at the table? How do we get to really take over? Because I've been on this thing about AI and robots, and that a lot of jobs that Black fathers have today are going to be replaced. They're going to be replaced by robots. That by 2050, about a little over 250 million robots are going to be to the workforce. And so certain jobs that men have today that take care of their families and all that, it's going to be replaced by AI and robots. So I think one of the challenges we have as Black men, as fathers, is how do I really take care of my family? How do I really take it to the next level? And so we got to have that conversation for Black men to say, hey, we got to look at creating new skill sets and developing a prosperity mindset. And get out of this programming that the school system and everything program people to just say, I'm gonna work a job, and then, you know, to make extra money, I'm gonna either work overtime or I'm gonna work 2 jobs, 3 jobs. No, we need more entrepreneurs as Black fathers. We need more entrepreneurs as Black men who will create jobs. Because one of the things that AI will not be able to do, maybe a robot, but not necessarily AI, if a plumbing goes bad in somebody's house, you're going to have to call a plumber. So certain things, roofing company, plumber, a painting company, window washing, we got to step our game up as entrepreneurs, because as the one thing the king said is about providing. Our kids should not have to struggle. And I'm done. But there's also a statistic by 2053 that the median income for Black families is going to be 0 to negative, while for white folk it's going to be 150,000 plus. And the conversations and what I'm seeing in the church is stupid. The prophet so-and-so fighting prophet so-and-so, and they talking about this, talking about that. And the future is at stake. In 30 so years, I'll be in my 70s, you know what I'm saying? I'm thinking about how's life going to be for my daughter? Because we ain't going to live forever.
Right.
So as Black men, as Black fathers, whatever the thing that's blocking us, we got to remove it. We got to get serious and have, you know, discussions like this.
That's good, man. Everything you said was great. Come on in, Drew.
Bishop Smith, you preaching, sir. Hiya, cinnamon. You preaching, man. I think we have so many different societal complexities that we have to go above and beyond just to find any level of success, especially in the business world. I'm a business coach myself. It's a lot different from when my father was in the workforce. My
Yes.
father's 85. I'm 39, and I grew up with a family full of pastors.
Mm-hmm.
So, my grandfather, Bishop James A. Dockery, here in Buffalo, New York.
No
Um,
way. That's your
yeah,
grandfather?
yeah, that's my granddad.
They're my people.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
I'm
I
sorry.
know. I
I'm
kind of
sorry.
figured. Yes, sir.
Man, I used to preach for my dad all the time, bro. He used to
Man,
come to
my
the church
grand.
all the time. My dad would preach for him all the time. Okay, I'm sorry.
No,
Oh
you
my
good.
God.
You good. My grandfather was that dude, and I'm
Literally.
saying that humbly, not trying to
Mm-mm. Was
make
that
any.
guy. Facts.
He was that dude because at that time, just business. I think if he really knew how to monetize what he did across the state of New York and turned it into something business outside of church, he probably would have been a multimillionaire because he knew so
Facts.
much.
Facts.
But between him and my dad kept a regular job working for the state. He was high up in the state, but it was still a job nonetheless. I more so had an entrepreneur's mindset because I realized it's not the same time frame. Working 40 years and retiring off of what you made, it's not that type of life no more.
No.
So I remember buying my father his first TV, first flat screen TV. My man thought I was selling drugs, bro. Like he was like, "Where you get this from?" Because I had just bought a car. I was doing kind of well. I had a family at the time. I was doing things the best way I could, but I was doing them right. And no, I was never in the streets or nothing like that. I'm a
Right.
church kid.
Right.
But he looked at the car. I brought him the flat screen TV. He like, man, where you get this from? Where
Right.
the money at?
Right.
What are you doing? What now? He
What
got
are
all
you
these
doing?
questions. I'm like, sir, like things are different from the way it was when you first had me. We have a lot of opportunities, but as black men, we have to come out of that mindset of I can only get my money this way.
Right.
I'm
Yeah,
only
yeah,
valuable if I'm
that's right.
trading my time for $1.
That's
Right.
And
right.
I feel like now we're living in an age where one of my business coaches would say, you get paid for the value you bring to the marketplace. We're starting to really understand the value that we have. Some of us, not all of us. But when you have a certain amount of value, it translates to being able to provide. And I
Right.
think that is heavy for the black community because we're changing the game. Like I kind of envy Atlanta a little bit because of how much black success and black excellence you see in
Right.
Atlanta when I go
Oh,
visit.
it's crazy. It's
Yeah,
crazy
it's
here.
crazy. Like you come to Buffalo, man. Listen, you see a black man with a Bentley. You're like, oh, he's scamming somebody.
When
What?
I was
Why is
when
that
I
the
was
first thought?
when I was just home and I drove and I got a Benz and I was driving. It
Yes,
was
sir.
amazing. Everybody was turning their head and looking. That don't happen in Atlanta.
That thing claimed
You
though.
see a Bentley, you see you see a Bentley, you see a Rolls Royce here in Atlanta, it's the norm. Oh, it's
Mm.
the norm. It's like you don't look at nobody like, oh, they got a Rolls Royce. What they doing? It's like, oh, okay, success is just all around.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it comes down to our community. They need to understand that success is bigger than just Friday night partying and getting, crab leg boils. That's not success. You know what
Nah,
I mean? And
feels
I
good,
think,
but it ain't success, right?
yeah, no, and after a while, you keep eating that, it's going to do your body bad.
Right. And that's a whole nother conversation.
Whole nother conversation.
Yes.
So I mean, and everything that you all said is great. Because I think another challenge also is that, and this I think is a real thing, is that some of our men also have been exampleless
Mm,
um in terms of growing up. And then you have some men who, believe it or not, and I think it's becoming more of a known fact now, that some of our men were molested when they were younger.
Yeah.
Some
mm,
of them were abused physically, what have you, and then they saw abuse happen in front of them.
mm,
And so now the the relationship between a man and a woman as they see it now also becomes a little tainted, because having a father, once you have a kid, you know it might be a little bit of a shock because the truth is, I only laid down with you to show you I was a man.
Mm.
That was my only purpose. And and a lot of these men, their only purpose was to show a side of their manhood because depending on where you grow up, and I'm gonna just say it. I ain't gonna, pretty way to say it. I'm gonna just say it.
Yep, yep.
You get respect by how many you smash,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you get viewed as being, are you that guy? If you got a basketball team, you got a starting five and a bench. If you got a couple basketball teams, that gets you some respect. And if the babies end up coming out because of that happens, you're like, oh well, it just happened, but it is what it is, and they go about their business. So the question is, with that also being a challenge of not having the example, then how do you even still battle through that? Because me doing what I do, I just think it's a sign of manhood. So how do you even battle through that? And then the other side of that also too is, and this is where it may get a little spicy here, but how much does the perception that sometimes the black woman has of the black man factor into that as well?
Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Doc,
I'll speak to that.
hey Drew, go ahead, man. I'm gonna let you have that
So I feel like um it comes from certain empowerments, and I don't want to sound like misogynistic or anything like that, but I think certain movements historically have caused a certain demographic to believe that the man has no value,
Yep.
and because of that, on the opposite side, you have men that are taught, like you said, you gotta, you only as good as how many you can collect. And spiritually, I think that was the difference in my home growing up with my dad. It was the breakdown of what that causes. So yeah, I did have, a bunch of kids out of wedlock or whatever, but I wasn't looking to just have a bunch of broken relationships. But because I wasn't taught what to look for as far as finding a wife. It's just like, well, yo, figure it out. But all
Mm,
those different things I think aren't taught for men
mm,
to keep families together, and then women to understand, like, yo, he's more than just a paycheck. You know what I
facts.
mean? So it's like you got those two different dynamics battling each other in society. It makes for a very complicated situation when it comes to trying to build a family, and keep what you've created, because there's so many different norms. Like my first, well, my ex-wife, she didn't grow up with her family. She doesn't know what it's like to be loved. She didn't know what it was like to have a father in the house and a mother in the house, because her mother and father didn't raise her. So now I'm not taught to what to look for as far as in a partner either. And then I get out there and I come across her, and we have that same agenda. Oh, he good for some money and she good for this. But now we've created people that we got to take care of, and we both don't have proper understanding of what to do.
Mm,
And I'm unfortunately in ministry, I feel like a lot of men marry the church instead of their wives. And I
facts.
love my dad. Nothing against my dad. My dad was a stand-up dude. He was a man's man. My grandfather was too. But when it came to church, it seemed like the church was more important than the family. So I didn't know what it was like to really understand how to put everything in the proper perspective, because it was this thing on them saying, hey, you're called to be in ministry. You called to preach. You better preach regardless whether your wife like it or not. And that old school mindset kind of kept a lot of different families broke up. So it's devastating when those families break apart, because of these different ideologies and thoughts that people are battling while trying to create something that is, you know, falling apart at the time. And you can't
Mhm.
really do anything about it because you got these different, demons people are battling. So I feel
Yeah.
like that is the issue that adds to a lot of how we date, how do we create the family, how do we build the foundation for it to work properly and add value to it, and then build on the foundation, because we're missing certain pieces that are not taught.
Yeah.
Men are taught to womanize in our community, and the women are taught you want to get married and you just have the day, but they don't know how to keep a husband. So it's so many different things that we're trying to navigate, and it creates these dynamics of mindsets that are constantly battling. And now, even right now, we got the gender war still between folks, dating and not dating secularly, because nobody wants to get married. It's only the church folks getting married for the most part, for the right reasons. They try to, anyways.
Right.
But outside of that, it's a lot of folks saying they don't want to be married.
That's good. What you got,
Hey,
Pastor Jay?
well, Drew just smashed that, because I can't say it no better. The only thing that comes to my mind is exposure. Once I left Buffalo, I love Buffalo. I don't talk negative about home. Once I left Buffalo, though, my mind was exposed to something outside of my norm.
That's good.
And when I left Buffalo, I got around other type of black men, and particularly my bishop that's in Nashville. Because when I left Buffalo, I moved to Nashville, and when I got around Bishop Maynard is his name, he challenged me. So it was right away. I got around, iron sharpens iron, and I got around a man who wasn't afraid. He, as me being a younger guy, saw me as a young man with value,
Right.
and he poured into me. And so he challenged me, he poured into me, and it caused me to, because it caused me to have to grow up, to have to learn a lot. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
and then, of course, then being here in Atlanta, and so just being away, I was exposed to other things, which really developed this prosperity mindset that I have. And so I think that's one thing that a person may not have had the ability to get mentored by somebody or fathered by somebody. I have my natural father who was in my life, who was there, and then my spiritual father, Bishop Maynard.
Right.
But here's the thing, because the Bible even talks about being transformed by the renewing of your mind. Now we live in a day where if you want better, you can have better. Now we live in a day now that even if I can't get to a person, there's so much content and information out there that, I think one of the number one things in the church, and people may disagree, but one of the number one things in the church that I think that is missing out of all that we have is having an auxiliary or department called personal development.
Yeah,
I think
that's
that's one of the
man.
number one things, because once you get through, speaking in tongues, shouting, dancing, preaching, all of that on the altar and all that, personal development and learning about the mind and learning about, neuroscience and different things of that nature. When I started to discover all of this stuff, because I was like, God, like, how come people stay the same? Shout, you dance, but stay the same. And we're in this cycle. And then the Lord began to expose me. And I had what is called like a mental miracle while I was pastoring my church here in Atlanta. And I start to come aware and understand that there's a lot of other things happening in the unseen realm versus the physical in the seen. So I'm saying all that to say that we have to expose ourselves to bigger and better, and get away from this limiting belief that we can't do something, we can't be whatever just because we black men, or whatever, or because Atlanta is great. But if I was in Buffalo, I would show everybody how to live, not y'all. I'm just saying, I would just like there would be no, oh man, we hit no. I it's when you become aware of more,
Yeah.
it's like your mind go like, man, so it's a thing of black men exposing themselves to, I don't want to be the smartest person in the room.
Facts.
I don't want to be the smart. I don't want to know everything. I want to be in a room with people who know more. If I'm in the room and that's Jimmie Smith, man, he this, he that, and I'm the bad organist. I'm bad. No, put me in a room with some people who play. Like I listened to Blair the other night in rehearsal. I was sitting back there like, oh man, no, I'm like, this dude is killing. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like, I want to be around people who've done more, who've seen more, because there is more. None
That's
of us
right.
have to be limited
Yeah.
at all. And so yeah, that's my response to that.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you the this was probably in 2007, maybe 5 or 6, where we ran into, well, not ran into, but my wife and I, we got introduced to, and y'all know, the company, but we got introduced to when prepaid legal was kind of big, and we got involved, and so the person who got involved with, got us out. We went to one of the meetings with him, and the guy that was doing the meeting, listening at him talk, and I'm sitting there like, I've never heard another black man up to that point in my life talk like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because the first thing I said was, he can't be from here. They had to fly him in from out of town. He
Right.
can't
Right.
be from he can't be from here. And so over we got a chance to talk to him, and then eventually my wife and I, we got a chance to work with him, and through that we ended up becoming family for 20 plus years through
Mm.
that.
Mm.
And one of the things he asked me one day when we were sitting down talking, and he said, the first thing I want to ask you is, do you do any type of personal development? And I said, what's that? Like, what do you mean personal development? Like what is that? Well, he said,
Right.
well, you read books, right? I said, well, yeah, I do read books. He said, what kind of books do you read? And then so I said, well, I read, these books, and and the books I named were books that had to do with church.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
What had to do with church?
Right.
And he said,
Worshiping at the well
I'm
or
trying to
something
tell you,
like.
right. And so then he said to me, he said, okay, do you read any books that have anything to do with things that are not particularly church, but have to do with your life? Do you read any books about how you think? Do you read any books about visualizing? Do you read any books of that cause you to expand your? And he went into all this stuff, and I'm just sitting there like, bruh, I'm lost. And when he introduced me to it, and I started to begin to read some of the books that he was reading, and I realized how limited my mind had become,
Mm.
because I was only stuck in the
Church.
church box I grew up in.
Yes.
And
Same.
I realized how limited I had become. And the crazy part about it was, over the years, as I kept renting, and he ended up becoming a mentor and a big brother. And as the years began to go on, what I started to realize was, a lot of what I read in a lot of those books that really talked about, you have to think bigger than where you are. You have to expose yourself to things outside of your circle, that are outside of your sphere. And I
Yeah.
started to it started to help me even understand some things I have read in scripture. Like, we say the whole thing of, as a man thinketh, so is he, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the books that he had me to read, even in some of those books that were written by Christian men, a lot of them were written by Christian men. But they said, "Do you like in one book I remember reading said, do you realize when he says as a man thinks, he talks? Do you realize he's talking about how do you see yourself? Do you see yourself the way he sees you? Do
Right.
you realize that his vision of you and his thoughts of you are way bigger than what your thoughts are?"
Right.
Which
Yeah.
means that you need to expand your vision and thoughts so you can begin to see how he sees. And it just became a thing and it changed my life. But I had no clue what personal development is. I was like, what is that?
And Dr. Blair,
I said, that's
most
a sin. That's witchcraft.
right. Most most of our people don't. And here, and to any of the black fathers or anybody watching, here's one of the books that I feel everybody needs to start with, and that's Think and Grow Rich
Come on here.
by
Come on
Napoleon
here.
Hill. And
Yes.
because
I read
when
that
you
book.
start to look at the system of America, and when you start to look at how America is, how it really functions, operates, it's not really a country, it's really a corporation. And you start to look at how the people who've made the most money in America, you know, when you begin to read Think and Grow Rich, you begin to understand how to really function and operate in this country. And I think that's important because I talk to a lot of black men, young black men, who don't even know, not just know what personal development, they never even heard of the book.
Yeah.
And I you know, I have books, surrounded by books, and I was going to go grab some, but like Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. That's
Yes,
another
sir.
book which got me into real estate. So I'm in real estate. So I understand what that is, but that's something that we need to, and I say the church world, but even in the black community, because to your point, Blair, there's a lot of people who have the church mind and that's all they know. And and they just going to church and you got the church mind, and then they just trying to make it to heaven. And with a Christianity mindset, I'm trying to leave earth, make it to heaven. But when you start dealing with kingdom, you're really trying to cause heaven to come to earth. It's not so much as
Yeah.
me leaving earth so I can get to heaven, get the glory. How do I live so to the point that heaven begins to come on earth? And once we get that understanding, then we can start shaping and reshaping and reprogramming and changing our communities and our families and things like that. Everybody listening right now, we can all be multimillionaires. We could all be wealthy and healthy. I heard a billionaire say the other day in an interview that the new flex is being fit. The new flex now is not the kind of car you drive and all this. It's being in shape and being fit. I'm like, yeah. So I'm like, man, I'm like, let me get my mind together, change my diet, and get back in the gym like I'm supposed to, because it's about being healthy, and your health is your wealth.
That's a fact.
That's
I
good.
think that was one of the first things I had told my son when he had his first child. He told me, he was having a baby, and I was like, okay, that's a good start. That's cool. What are you reading? My first question was, what are you reading?
Right.
Because now you have to be responsible for somebody else. And if
Right.
you ain't putting nothing in, he ain't got nothing to get from you. You don't have nothing to give him. Because
Right.
again, we're providing, we're protecting, we're correcting, and we're instructing. You're missing the instruction. You ain't got nothing to give him if you ain't reading nothing to learn nothing to
Yeah.
instruct him. So
Yeah.
what are you
That's right.
reading? So that's good. Think and Go Rich
Yeah.
was a great book. I think
Thank.
one of my favorites was The Magic of Believing by Claude Bristol.
That's
Yes.
another
The
good one.
Magic of Believing, because it helps. And that, even though it wasn't church based, it really helped me put faith in the proper perspective. What does faith actually look like? How can I apply it to my daily life and daily living to be able to get the results that I'm looking for, that I know God has for me? So
Oh,
yeah,
and
that's a big thing.
another book is Millionaire in the Making. Is
Ooh,
by Jimmie Smith. Millionaire in the
okay.
Making. This is a wonderful book.
Now
Shameless
I got to get
plug.
that from you, Doc.
No, that's good. That's good though. So is that book on Amazon?
It's on Amazon, or
Okay.
I can put the link on my Facebook page, and
Good.
you can
Okay.
get it. But it's
Yeah,
on
do that.
Amazon, and it's it's not so much about the whole millionaire part. It's the process and the making part. So I feel like if for people who want to be successful and rich, it's what you have to become before you get there.
Right.
It's the
Right.
mindset shift. It's thinking differently.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that person that you met 20 or so years ago that was a mentor to you, he exposed and caused your mind to see and think differently.
That's right.
And so yeah, anyway, it's a great book. People love it.
That's good. I'm gonna have to reach out and grab the copy from you, man.
Yeah, man.
That's good, man. Because we have it, and the thing is, and thank God our other panelists did make it. Glad that what was going on, he was able to get it worked out. So grateful to have my brother, another young musician and great guy. Um, born in Rochester, but he's I believe he's in Atlanta also now.
Okay.
That's something too.
Integral, great character, extremely talented musician who's making a lot of ways, doing some great things. So we got Diontaye Thompson, man. I'm glad you made it in, brother. Glad everything worked out for you. Hopefully he can hear me.
You know what, I just realized who you talk about. Let me also add some sauce onto that.
Go add
That
some sauce.
Negro is one of the baddest musicians. I just realized who you're talking about. I preached at the church that he plays for
Yeah.
a month or so, or a couple months back. And when I looked over and saw it was him, I was like, oh my God, we about to go in. That is one of the baddest musicians
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
ever.
Yes, sir. So as soon as he get his mic on and everything, we'll get him in. But oh, there he is. All right. Yep. Go ahead, man. We'll keep going. Let me know when you're ready. But
Okay, can
again,
you hear me?
we can hear you now,
All
man.
right, all right. There we go. There
All
we go.
right. So
What up,
glad you,
Doc?
man. I'm
What's
just
up?
glad you made it in and you got done what you had to get doing safely. So we just glad you're here,
Yes, sir.
um, coming in on the tail end. And
hmm
so I want to go ahead and just really quickly, I just want to throw one thing at you. Then we're gonna keep going with the conversation.
Okay.
Because I asked this at the very beginning, kicking off the conversation, and that was, what was it like for you when you first became a father? Like, what was the feeling? For some people it's like yes, for other guys it's like oh no, and then for other guys it's like nah, man, I'm good, I'm going the other way. So depending on what what your particular experience it was, but what was it for you when you realized I'm about to be a dad for the first time?
For me, it was honestly, my mom had been telling me, to kind of chill out and slow down, and I was 18 at the time, just graduated, wasn't listening. So when I actually had my first kid, it was kind of like, wow, like my mom was right. That's all I can really say. I didn't really have no other feelings. Like I just knew that, I had to take care of a child. But the deeper part of it for me was more so like because I didn't really, and some people know, some people don't, but I didn't really grow up with a dad. So, that was kind of my fear of like, how am I gonna do this? How is this even gonna happen? I don't be a father. Okay, we'll see. You know. So
Yeah.
it was a little weird for sure.
Good. So how did you what were some of the things that you had to do to kind of start to develop the relationship between yourself and your daughter? Because some of the things that came up before you came on was Pastor Jimmie talked about
hmm
presence, not just
hmm
physically, but your mind has to be there,
hmm
your spirit, everything has to be there, presence. And Drew talked about that the responsibility side is you got to instruct, you
Right.
got to provide, um, you got to correct, and there was another one, I can't remember the other one, but those were three of the four that he mentioned. And so,
You
what
gotta
did you
protect.
Protect. Yeah, my bad. I'm
protect?
sorry.
Thank you. That's it. Protect. And so, what were some of the things that? you had to do to kind of get you to the place where you could really step into that role and really develop that relationship with your children? Because I think you have a daughter or two, right?
I have 4 daughters and a
Four
son.
daughters. Okay. All right. So how did you kind of get yourself to the point not having a dad? How did you take on that responsibility, and what did you have to do to kind of grow yourself up in that role?
So to be honest, it is still a bit of a my oldest is 11, so it's still a bit of a thing sometimes because I feel like some people are not honest about this as dads. Sometimes they struggle with the feeling of wanting to do more but not having it, and that can be monetarily, that can be physically, that can be in any capacity. Like that's that's kind of what why I'm saying it's still a bit of a learning thing, but far as the progress of certain things, like I just had to kind of just jump out there, because there isn't a manual for any of that. Like the only
Right.
thing I could really say about being a dad that just kind of made sense no matter what was love. That was the only thing that was kind of like you don't need a manual for that. You just you just feel it. You know what I mean? Like it's what real love feel like. So I feel like with that, and then like I said, mixed with the other stuff, it's still a bit of a learning kind of
Sure.
situation.
Sure. That's
But I
good,
won't say
man.
it's a struggle though anymore.
That's good. I'm
Yeah.
glad, man. Good to hear you say that. Um, so I do want to go here as we get ready to wind down. I do want
Hmm.
to go here because one of the things that I do understand also, and another one of my guys from around here,
Hmm.
he said something one day talking about his son,
Hmm.
and he said the one thing my relationship with my son has taught me is it's really made me understand the type of father that God is.
Mm.
That's good.
I've and he said my son taught me and really demonstrated for me or got me or woke me up to an awareness
Yeah.
of really who God is
Hmm.
and really what how he operates with us.
Hmm.
So I wanted to ask this. I wanted to throw this question, and we lost Pastor Jimmy, but I think he'll be. Oh, there he is. Okay, he's back. Um, so I wanted to ask this particular question. And it's kind of a dual question, but you can kind of answer it all to together when you're speaking.
Hmm.
So my question is, what is it that your kids have taught you about being a father, but then also what has God taught you through the relationship with your kids? And so we can start. Whoever wants to go first can go right ahead, because our kids teach us stuff, and then God uses our kids to teach us stuff.
Right.
So
Hmm.
what what are just a couple of those lessons that you have learned while being a father? And whoever wants to start can go right ahead.
Go ahead, Drew.
Okay. um, okay. Well, I will say one of the biggest things I learned being a father was grace and faith. I understood faith on a different level because I have to believe for better for others around me. So they can't their faith or their belief on their future and security in that, it's coming from where you are mentally or where you what they see you do, how they see you react. So if daddy not scared, I ain't gonna be scared. Ain't no reason to be scared. I ain't gotta worry if daddy ain't worrying. If daddy worrying, then yeah, everybody panicking at that point
That's a fact.
because it falls under that hat of being a protector and a provider. So providing isn't just finances; it is my spiritual strength, my spiritual authority. You have to show me what that looks like so that I know how to operate. That was a big thing. The second thing was grace. I have to give them enough grace to mess up. I have to allow them to make their mistakes. I have to allow them to bump their heads. I have to allow them to do something, even though I've lived your life twice. Like, bro, you're not as smart as you think you is. I've done what you did, and I've done it and got away with it. You know what I mean? So it's it's giving them grace and opportunity to learn and adjust and become their own person, because it's not my job to control you. That's not godly. It's my job to instruct you so that you can move correctly throughout life. And I think that was the biggest thing for me, really understanding faith on a higher level and grace and what that has to feel like to God when he knows you're going to mess up or he knows you're doing something wrong and you keep choosing to do it. And he still forgives you. He still welcomes you back with open arms. That's the story of the prodigal son. So yeah, it's the grace factor. I feel like I've learned the most as a father, because I can't hold my thumb on you to make you do, and I can't control you to make you do. I have to allow you to go do and pray that you do it right.
That's good.
Blair, re-ask the question. I got kicked off. My boy was calling me.
Okay,
Ask
yeah,
the
no
question
problem.
again.
So I asked the question of what are some of the lessons you have learned from your kids, and then also what were some of the lessons that God taught you through your kids?
Well, I think one of the lessons I've learned from my daughter is to be calm,
Mm, that's good.
be at peace. um, I can be aggressive. I got a lot of energy. And, if I'm dealing with business or dealing with something, whatever, and she's always with me. So if we ride in the car, she got this thing, she'd put her hand on my face and kind of like tap me like right here. That means calm down. Nobody else can do that but this little
Mhm.
girl. So I've learned to be at peace, be calm, to be okay. And I've learned at just in being what God has taught me and being a father, it's my faith. So to Drew's point, it's my daughter don't have a clue of some of the giants or giant big situations that I've had to face. All she know when she looks at her father, all is well. And I think I can imagine what my dad had to deal with, because he was always okay. He was always
Yeah,
strong. He
yeah,
was always,
Same
solid.
here. That was my dad too. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
man, I
Mm-hmm.
look back and I be thinking like, what if my dad was ever nervous about whatever, because it
Mm-hmm.
didn't show that. It didn't come out that
Didn't
way.
show it. Yeah.
So I've had to walk in faith, and not to say I haven't felt fear or haven't felt nervous about certain things, but I had to walk in faith in a way that it's already done. It's already done
yeah,
deal, and be that
Yeah.
solid foundation. Because God is a solid foundation. His word is a solid foundation. With everything that is shifting in this world, the word of God is solid for me. God is solid for me. His promises are solid for me. So I also, as a father, have been put in the position that I have to also walk in that same manner as God is with me. I also, as a father, am the same way with my child. Solid.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah.
She shouldn't have to look at her father and be like, well, I don't know what we gonna do because this joke over here is messed up. No. And I get it, because there's a lot of things we face, but our kids don't see that, because we're walking by faith, in faith, and trying to make it happen every day and to push. And a lot of times we may feel fear, we may feel whatever, but at the same time, because we are dads and we are fathers,
Yeah.
we walk in a certain way that our father walks with us.
That's
And
right.
so it's a thing that I've learned to walk by faith and not by sight. I
Yeah.
am a person of faith, so to the point that my family thinks I'm crazy, because I literally know it to be a fact that if I think it, if I see it, I know I receive the promise. I receive whatever that thing is, and it eventually does manifest, in my life into the physical realm.
That's good.
That's good. That's good. Come on, Diontaye.
So, as far as the first question, I would say overall, my kids have taught me how to manage my emotions. You know,
That's
because
good.
when you are like a real alpha male, sometimes you want to control the situations and you know how they should go and different things like that. You know, or you want to be a fixer and feel like you got to fix everything and all of that. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they really have taught me how to kind of like just chill out and you know just manage my emotions and not be an emotional dad. You know what I mean? Because if I'm emotional and your mom is emotional, what type of decisions are getting made?
That's good. That's good.
What type of decisions are getting made? So I have to think that way, you know. So I try to be as level headed as possible, and even and they've taught me vulnerability because my kids are a little older now. I allow them to see certain things, not really certain parts of myself, but vulnerability as in like if there's something that I do wrong or if I don't keep my word on something, I don't just kind of let it be. No, I apologize or I make up for it because I want you to understand what accountability looks like at an early age. I don't want
That's
you
good.
to feel
That's
like
good.
my first version of gaslighting or whatever came from my dad. Nope. You know, I don't want that in your head or, you know, anything like that. So I would say my children have definitely taught me how to manage my emotions and vulnerability. What was the second part?
What has God taught you through your kids?
Um, I'll say the ultimate thing that he really taught me, and honestly, I'm still even kind of getting a grasp on it, was that really that I never really needed a father.
Mm.
That's the biggest thing I'm learning because I have 5 kids, and again, I didn't have a manual or a dad to tell me what to do, you know. But all of them love me, you know. You know, it don't matter what happens in life; they all just love me like they just met me. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that's the biggest thing I learned because that was my biggest hang up growing up was not knowing who my dad was. It caused me to make a lot of decisions and go through a lot of unnecessary stuff. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So I say that yeah, that's the biggest thing.
I like what he said, Drew. That's that instruction when he was
Yeah.
talking about I don't want them to experience like the first thing of gaslighting. So for you
Yeah.
to go ahead and show them, I'm gonna apologize to show you accountability.
Yeah.
That's that instruction part where I'm going to instruct my child by being an example and showing them what's what. Yeah, and I think that's important.
For sure.
Yeah, I think that's super important to do.
Yeah, he hit on accountability too. I think that's something that people definitely need to learn early in life because you can't make
Yeah,
it through adulthood without being accountable. Even as men, that's a primary trait for a man. If I can't count
Right,
on you or have you be accountable, I can't add you to my circle.
absolutely.
right. Yeah, I agree with that.
Absolutely.
Where oh okay, I guess Blair got knocked off, but I think this tonight, man, is super awesome conversation. And so many things. Just kind of going back to that whole thing. As providers, we are protectors. Providers,
Yeah.
we correct and we instruct. And and my prayer is for everybody on here and those who are watching is you know to really be able to provide at the level we want to and to dream big and to not walk in any type of doubt of our ability to
Yeah,
not just provide because I think you said it earlier, Drew, we're more than just a paycheck. We're more than just the
yeah,
income that comes in. But at the same time, I want us to be able to, as men, as the fathers, and whoever's watching, to just don't doubt yourself. You know, like literally dream big and really take it to that level because there's so much money flowing right now. With all this talk about Iran and Iraq and the Israel and Trump and all of the things that is happening, man. When I tell you these billionaires and millionaires are making money,
Hmm.
somebody's
yeah. They
making
cleaning
money in
up.
2025.
That's
Absolutely.
a fact.
Everybody not distracted with the drama and walking in fear. There are
Hmm.
people who are making boss moves and business moves And I think for anybody who a black man who has children or family, we should be more engaged into what's, how do I bring that piece of that pie into, my for my family, for my last name. And so we got to begin to deal with conversations like this, personal development, things of that nature, to really begin to expose ourselves to what's really happening and what's the more bigger and better. Because I'm telling you, AI and these robots and everything that's coming in the future, man, the time now to get in on it is right now.
Man, it's crazy you say that. I was just telling somebody the other day, like, most musicians, I think they miss the blessing in maximizing your gift, because I think we get stuck at just playing only, not realizing that
Right.
you can take music, the thing that you love, and you can go to school for maybe 6 months to a year and learn coding. And now
That's
you're
right.
creating music softwares. That's how you maximize your gift. You know what
That's
I'm
how you.
saying? So
Yep.
there's a lot of different things. And I've been praying about that for a long time. Like, I just don't want to play in church all my life for money. I want
No.
to
That's
be able
right.
to go to
Yeah.
church. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
I just been praying, and I'll go back and say that's another thing my kids taught me, how to hustle, and not have to do it illegally. Like, how to just
Yeah.
take what I love to do, how to make money off of it. So
Yeah, but
That's
I
good.
know
That's good. Yep.
Blair. I know you just getting back, but I'm telling y'all, like even Dante, what's the dude here in Atlanta? C Dub or
oh
whoever
yeah,
See
who
Dub
Rich.
brand?
yeah,
Yeah,
he was
Yeah.
at
Rich.
Yeah.
he was at Nam. He had his own little booth or whatever, but like he took technology and done did something. When it first came out, I was like, what is that? I'm a musician, I don't need it. But
Hmm.
think about the churches who've used
Who
it.
don't have
He's
it?
made
Yeah.
money from it. And we literally, to his Deontay's point, can go and get some type of training and get certified for 6 months to a year or
Hmm.
whatever in AI, whatever, building a software and then building a company and then selling that company. Somebody will buy
Hmm.
it.
That's
But if
right.
we,
Yeah.
even as men or musicians or whatever, we cannot just trade our time for money and wear ourselves out.
Hmm.
No,
Yeah.
we got to literally build something that brings value to a certain marketplace, put a price tag on it, and yeah, man, because we're gonna get older. I'm
Yeah.
I'm 47. I'm about to be 48. When I get into my 50s, trust me, Doc, I don't want to be on nobody's organ talking about some. It's first Sunday. What songs we about to do? Nah,
Yeah.
no, thank
I
you.
yeah, I hear you, man. Everything you guys have shared has been great tonight from your perspective, and you brought a lot of value. And so I want to close it out this way. Um because as we've been talking, the thing that I have been really thinking about, I had it on my list of things I wanted to dive into just really quickly, is um in today's society, as we do know that um there is somewhat of a gender battle going
Hmm.
on between men and women. There's because, and I think a lot of it has happened because women have really advanced
Yeah.
uh over the years, and I think especially since COVID, they have
Hmm.
really advanced, and they are out here doing things that we probably haven't seen women do probably in maybe some decades. Because there was only one or two Madam CJ Walkers. It was only a couple that were doing that type of entrepreneurial business, becoming, of course, and then Oprah comes along, and then you have some others, but now there are more that have really gotten out here. And so because of the gender battle, there is somewhat of a supremacy that some of them feel to men, and so it becomes a bit of a challenge even for men, even being a father, because you may be dealing with a woman who may be way up here, for lack of a better word, and you're still trying to, and so now there's the pressure of she's got, in my eyes, she's got more than me, she's got more going on than me, and now here I am trying to raise a kid, and so sometimes that can create an imbalance. And so I want you guys to kind of speak to the women and the mothers, and just and kind of give them a little bit of wisdom of, if if that man is there and if he's willing, how should she really handle that in today's time? Because oftentimes, let's be honest, they badmouth us a lot. Now, some of it is warranted, some of it isn't. And unfortunately, as I said, we all get rolled into the same bad apple bunch, even if we're a good one. We still get thrown into the batch with the bad and the good apples all together, and they say they all bad. So if you can't, just speak to the to those mothers out there who, whether the father is there or not there, or if he is there, if he isn't there, and just give them a little wisdom at how do you really handle the man today being a father, so that it doesn't become contentious, but it's something that you can build and work at together. So
I,
whoever wants to start.
I think it's called respect. It's about respect.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna, what I'm gonna say to this, I'm gonna say it in the best way I can, because I don't want to expose myself on this thing, but because I don't have there's no battle. You know what I'm saying? For me, like, there's just, and so it's called respect. Um, I think that just needs to be put out there. Because if you don't have that respect, then you don't really have a whole lot.
Right.
And
Right.
I don't know if I can even say a whole lot to the women, but if I could just,
Okay.
say to the men, know how to handle yourself, know how to, carry yourself, because
That's right.
you
Yep.
have women who come from different backgrounds, and women who come from homes with, mothers and fathers, and they understand how to respect the man. You got some women who don't, and you have all this stuff. And I don't know, to all the men and whoever will watch this, whatever that woman is, whatever it is, but you must know to respect and carry yourself as a king. You must know how to have emotional intelligence
Yeah.
and know how to
Yeah.
handle yourself, and not let a woman manipulate you with
Mm-hmm.
sex and whatever. You got to be solid,
Yeah.
period. Because
Yeah.
so many women are, with this war you're talking about, is so many different type of things going on with social
Mm-hmm.
media and everything like that, that at the end of the day, a king must be a king. You must know that you are, and the core of who you are, solid as a man. You ain't got to hit a woman. You ain't got to be abusive. You ain't got to do none of that.
That's
And
right.
then if you're in a situation with a woman who does not respect you, find somebody who will. You know what I'm saying? If you can, or whatever, but respect yourself first. Love
Yeah.
yourself first,
Yeah.
You're
so you
preaching,
can
Doc.
be the
That's the
best
truth.
father that you can possibly be. But it's about respect, because all this gender war junk, whatever. Negro, please. All right, let me stop. Y'all go ahead.
No, you good. You good.
No, you good, Pastor. You talking good.
Go ahead, Drew. You got it.
Um, I kind of was thinking about what Pastor was saying. Just can you re-ask the question?
Just talking, speaking to the women and the mothers out there, in today's time, because we have all of those additional factors that have been thrown into the relationship between the man and the woman. Um, how would you give them some wisdom as to how to handle and really deal with, the men today, especially as it relates to fatherhood?
That's a loaded question.
Very loaded, like a baked
Yeah, because
potato
it's
loaded.
man, because it's like it's I mean, life is so multifaceted. You can't make it cookie cutter. So I feel like Pastor said, it's the respect thing. You got to respect each other. And in that respect, you have to acknowledge the fact that he still has a purpose. He has a purpose in your life. You have a purpose in his life. And that goes down to, those four good things, with the protection, providing, instruct, and correct. Like, you still need all of that. Even as a woman, you may be the head of your house, but you're not the head of your house spiritually. No shots, but that's the truth. And when a woman understands that, we're both submitting in this process, I think that, like, I know my wife probably gonna see this, but when we were meeting with our pastor and he was talking about the vows, and he was saying, to submit and have and obey and all that. And she was like, "Well, can we take that out?" She was joking because she's still in ministry too, so she understands the dynamic. And I think as we've started to build our lives together, she really gets the understanding of the ebbing and flowing of how the wife and the husband, the father and the mother wearing those different hats in the same house, how it has to work together. Are we going to always agree? No, not necessarily. But to know that we're on the right track to build a proper family unit, we still keep our purposes in perspective. And I think, Pastor Smith, when you came to the top a couple weeks ago, or was it last week? Either last week or the week before, after service, you spoke to me and her, and you confirmed some things prophetically that we had been kind of seeking God about. And it was like, that was the push we needed. That was the confirmation, the green light to really go into that direction. So if I
Yeah.
have anything to give anybody here, I would say you have to respect their purpose in your life. That man is coming into your life for a reason. It's not that he has to usurp his authority over you, but there is a certain protection. It's a covering. There's a certain reason why he's there that you have to respect
That's
and
right.
still
Yeah.
put his purpose into perspective. And the same thing with him. No, she is not just your sex toy. You don't marry just to, have your personal porn star. It don't work like that. Even though the bed is undefiled, she's still a person. You know what I mean? Like, it's certain things that you'll still have to do. You still got to put some work in to get your desires met.
Yeah.
But there's still a level of respect and respecting her purpose. She is your helpmate. So when you put her authoritative place as your helpmate in proper perspective, now we can respect the relationship properly and do what we need to do, being intentional, loving each other right, treating each other right, building the family right. So I think that respect and having a respect for each other's purpose is going to put everything in the proper perspective. And I think if women and men who are going to see this understand their relationships in that light, you'll be in a better position to make something good happen.
That's good. So Diontaye, I want you to chime in on this because all of us are married and you're a father who's not married at this point. So
I
you
actually
have
am.
you are married? I'm sorry, I didn't
Yeah,
know that, brother. Forgive me. I
yeah,
didn't know you were married.
yeah,
Um
man.
That's
which
what's up.
okay,
No, go
man.
ahead. I'm listening to you.
Congratulations to you, brother.
How long?
Um
How long you been married? Tell
Uh,
us about it.
Telling you about it. 3 years. Um,
okay.
it still feels new sometimes. It's there's so many things, man, that and I know we all have been through things, but some things shape people a little different. You know what I mean? So, to some people, 3 years into something like that, they would just kind of be like, "Oh, I'm used to it already." But me, it still has that new feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
Sure.
good.
All right, man. Good, awesome. But I'll
Hey,
still
hey,
pose
hey.
it. Go ahead.
What I love about Deontay, man, he gonna give you the real raw. He gonna give you what's
Oh,
real on
I
his
have
like.
to.
It's
I love it. I love
like
it,
Negro.
man.
Did you eat the hot dogs at Ted's? Well, I ate it. But I'm just to tell you, man, you know, it really was like he gonna give you the. He is so raw and real. He gonna
And I
give you the
appreciate. I love
facts.
it.
Man, I love it.
Yeah, that's
I
dope,
love it. I
man.
love having conversations with him, man, because there's no, you ain't got to pull no punches. It's gonna be what it's
No,
gonna be.
he's straight
But I
up.
I will pose this to you in light of you still being married, is that, you know, with you having your daughters at the time that you weren't married, um, what would you say to the fathers and mothers that are not married but they do have children together, in terms of how do they, you know, how should some of the mothers, what should they do in terms of interacting and being in a relationship with the father of their children and they're not married to them? Because sometimes that's a whole nother dynamic as well. And because you're, with you newly being married, you're just kind of transitioning from that.
Mhm.
So what kind of wisdom can you offer, especially in today?
The first thing I said is just be honest. You know what I mean? Some people are afraid to be honest, and I'm not saying that because I've always told the truth all my life, but at some point I grew up. You know what I mean? And a lot of situations would not be as bad if people told the truth the first
That's a
time.
fact. Yeah,
That's
If you
cool.
just
Yeah.
told
that's
the
good.
truth and just said what it is the first time, a lot of these situations just wouldn't be what it is. A lot of people actually would just forgive you and move on. But you know, when you start lying and you start doing this and doing that, it gets weird. You know what I mean? It gets very weird. So for me, that's the first thing. And then I'll also say communication, like, you know, with that, like you just gotta really, this is going back to what, again, another thing my kids taught me, like patience, like how to wait sometimes before you respond, even if you feel like you're right, even if you feel like you are just in the way or what you want to say. You know, sometimes dealing with you know, they're dealing with their mom, I have to be patient because sometimes women can be, they can mean well about what they're trying to convey. It's just that because they are emotional creatures, it sometimes can come across a little crazy. And as a man, you know, as a man, my first thing is like, okay, we're going to have an adult conversation. You're going to have to talk to me a certain way for me to talk to you a certain way. You know what I mean? So, um, you know, you just got to be patient. So I'm learning that my biggest thing with that whole situation is what can I learn from this? Not how can I control it to go the way I wanted to go, and what can I get out of it? No, what can I learn from this? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's good.
And I've learned more about myself and about my children's mothers in these latter years than I've ever learned. You know what I'm saying? And it's
Mm-hmm.
because the older I grew, the older I got, the more I started to pay attention rather than talk. You know what I mean? You got to pay attention to what's going on. You know what I mean? So it's still a journey sometimes, even being almost 31. Like it's still a journey sometimes. You know, I won't even say a journey, I'll say a challenge. It's still a challenge sometimes. And that's just only because we're human. No matter how Christian we want to be, and tongues and Holy Ghost and all of that, we are still human. So sometimes it is a challenge. Sometimes I want to crash out, and it's not because something so horribly, you know, is just wrong. It's just because sometimes I don't like when you talk to me that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, facts.
So,
Understood. Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, so but
Crash out pending.
outside of that, man, you know, I love being a father. I love the challenges because again, um the term fatherhood is foreign to me, other than my grandfather. Like he was the best father I done seen, you know what I'm saying? Like Richard C. Williams, you know what I mean? Like
Oh yeah,
that's,
I
you
love
yes,
know,
Dad
sir.
you know
Williams.
what I
Dad
mean?
Williams
So
is my guy.
Dad Williams
yeah,
is the
so
Dad
man.
like
Williams is my guy,
He
man.
will church us right now,
I'm
Doc.
trying to tell
yeah,
you.
yeah,
Yes,
that's so
indeed.
What's up.
that's why I am the way I am with my kids, as far as, you know, even with their moms, as far as being very cutthroat honest, because I seen him be that way with people, and I seen the results of it, even the relationships it built off of being that honest, you know. So I feel like when it comes to, you know, if you're transitioning into marriage, even if you're not transitioning into marriage and you're just single, but you know you have a co-parent situation, the biggest thing, man, is just be honest. I promise you,
Yeah,
Just be honest
communication.
about
Yeah.
everything. Just be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
You know what I
That's
mean?
good.
So
Hey, can I say? Let me read this real quick,
Yep.
because he what he said, and this is out of my book. I just want to mention to everybody, this is out of my book. But reframing failure, instead of asking why did I fail, ask what can I learn from this.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
good.
This
Yep.
Reframing
this
failure.
this
That's
Yep.
small
good.
shift in perspective will help you see failure as a powerful tool for
mhm.
success. It's about a shift in perspective.
That's
Not
right.
why is this happening to me? What
Right,
can I learn from this?
That's right.
right.
And the more we do that as men and fathers, then the more we can see that, okay, I can navigate and get to where I want to be.
That's
Hmm.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
Man, that's good, man. Listen, this has been really, really good, and powerful. And I think for the fathers who will have watched tonight and will watch this, there's a lot of nuggets that was released in this conversation that I think will really help a lot of fathers and dads along their journey. And I also believe it gave some good insight for the ladies and mothers again, to understand that, one, every father is not the same.
Hmm.
Every
Yeah.
man is not the same.
No, they're not.
And you have to be able to deal with the man that's in front of you, not the
Thanks.
men that came before him,
Hmm.
not the ones that you dealt with prior. You have to deal with the one that's in front of you. And once up and until and once he shows you the truth about himself, as Maya Angelou says, believe them when they show you the truth. But you got to give them the opportunity to show you whether they are or whether they aren't. And so I think we've helped a lot of people. So I want to thank all of you for the
Can I say one
value,
more thing?
tremendous sure, yeah, yeah, go right ahead.
I also want to say this because I feel like this is another thing that I feel like a lot of fathers struggle with that they are afraid to say. I feel like, and I myself still struggle with this sometimes where like I want to, like I said earlier, give more than I have, or I want to do more than I'm able to do. And sometimes it'll play on your mind as a father to where you feel like I'm not doing enough. So let me do more. And then you start killing yourself. You start overworking. You start going all types of places, doing all types of things because you decided to try to give something you don't have. And I think that is a challenge with even something for sometimes mothers to understand. Like, can you hear me?
We hear you now. Your phone went out for just a second. Your mic went out.
Okay,
We can
yeah.
hear you now.
Okay, yeah, I was saying I feel like that's like an unknown challenge that mothers I feel like have with fathers as well who may be in like a struggling type of situation or different things like that. It's sometimes hard to understand a man who wants to give but doesn't have it to give. And we're not even just talking about
Sure.
finances. It
Like your mic went out again, bro. Okay, he might
He
have a
he, he
connection.
may be in a bad area because
That's what I'm
it looked
thinking
like it was
too.
raining where he was.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Um but everything he said is real. The whole point about that if you try to give more than you have and overwork yourself, I think that's a good point as well. And I think a key point to that is just understanding the ministry of presence, in that a lot of times what our kids really want from us most of the time isn't really material. What I
Yeah.
found is they really just want you.
Yeah, they want
Yeah.
time.
They just want you. They want some time. Whatever that time looks like, they want you. Because I mean, I have my daughters, and I have one daughter, like for no reason, she would just come and just sit on my knee and just be
Mhm.
like, "Dad, just hold me." And of course, as I'm like, girl, you 20 some years old, you better get on out of. But then I have to catch myself, and I'll allow her to, because I understand that at that moment she wants the security of dad. She wants to feel it. And
Yeah.
so you just go ahead and do it, and you just go ahead and allow it. And sometimes that's more than what you can give them materially. What I found out is
Yeah.
that they just want you. But the truth is that's how God works. God wants us to just want him and not his stuff.
Yeah, that's a fact.
He wants us to want him and not his stuff. And so, so we get that part. So again, I appreciate all you guys that brought such value
Yes, sir.
to this platform tonight.
Yeah, no
We
problem.
went a
Thank you
little
for
bit
having me.
went absolutely, man, went a little bit longer than we wanted to. But I think everything that was shared was very, very valuable. And to those who have been watching, jumping on and off tonight, we appreciate you for hanging in with us tonight. And I hope that something that was said will definitely help you. Um, as you move forward. And so with that, we're going to close it out for tonight on this edition of the Locker Room. As for my guests, just want you to kind of hang tight with me. We're just going to close it out on social media, and we will definitely be back next month on the Locker Room for our July edition. And we are working on something really, really great. And I ain't gonna say nothing yet because we still have to talk about it. But we are working on something strong for July with the Locker Room, and it's gonna be a spicy one. I can tell you that. And we gonna step on stuff. It's gonna be a good one. So you gonna want to tune in for this one. You gonna want to tune in. But thank you again for everybody who sung out with the Locker Room. I do want to let you know another shameless plug is for those of you who have supported me. We got shirts now that say the Locker Room on them, so you can definitely go to the
Yes.
website. I'm going to throw it up
Fire.
on Facebook for you. You go to shopchangingphases.com.
Yeah, I've seen your shirt. You had another shirt had one word on it recently.
Yes, yes, it's called Breathe.
Yeah, I
So
saw that.
that's something that the Lord gave myself and my wife maybe about 2 or 3 months ago, where He just said, you know, tell people to just take a breath.
I love it.
There's a whole lot going on in life. There
Man,
may be a whole lot coming at you.
when I see that breathe for
Yeah.
advertisement, I'm thinking of the shirt, the t-shirt, but with the sound of breathing and or some type of
Yes.
meditation music
Yes,
where
sir.
it's almost like the app Calm,
Yes.
and so breathe. That, yeah, I like it. I
Yeah.
feel it. I
So
feel
Yeah,
the
that's
energy
dope.
of it.
yep.
That's
So
definitely dope.
I did throw it in the comments for those of you if you want to go ahead and grab your a Locker Room shirt. We have Locker Room shirts. You can go grab one for all of my supporters to have, and we also have the Breathe T-shirts on the site as well. So you
Yeah,
can
I'm gonna
go there
get
and
one.
get your T-shirt.
Me too.
And I just and again, people have seen it, and it's caused them to really look, and you just kind of say, "Yep, breathe. It's gonna be okay. Just breathe." It's gonna be okay. You're gonna be all right. It's not as big as you think it is.
I
It
love it.
is not as overwhelming as you think it is. But take the time to breathe and reset yourself, and you're gonna be just fine.
And
So all of those shirts,
it's so
yeah,
on point for
yes,
all the
sir.
stuff that's going on right now.
I'm trying to tell you, man.
For
So
sure.
again, it's all available on the site. I have it up there, shopchangingphases.com. So you can go there and get your shirts. And we do have some other apparel up there as well that you can take a look at. And these are just things that God has just given us. And he's like, put it on a shirt. And so it's out there so you can go and get it. Pastor Jimmie's book, go get it. The making of a millionaire.
No, it's a millionaire in the making.
Millionaire in the Making is available on
Amazon.
Amazon,
Yep.
and is it everywhere? It's on all the outlets for books.
Amazon, and then of course the link that's on my Facebook page. They can go to my page, and
Okay,
yeah,
go to
I'll
his
post it
page,
tonight
get that.
sometime.
Awesome. So make sure you go to his page and get the book that he just wrote. Pastor Drew, you got anything? You got books out? Anything?
Well, I got a book out called The Connector's Handbook.
Okay.
I'm actually putting it back out online. It'll be on connectorscorner.com. I'm dropping a new book my birthday, July 27th. It'll be called Think Sales, Make Friends, Unlock Your Path to
Good.
Millions from the Second Seat.
Mm,
So,
Good. That's powerful. Yes,
I
sir.
love
Yes,
it.
yeah.
sir.
Hey, Drew, we
So
got to connect, man. We seem to
Yes,
be on
sir.
same frequency when it comes to entrepreneurship and everything. So I love it.
Yes, sir. Let's do
Yes,
it.
sir.
Let's stay connected.
All right, so everybody make sure you go get Pastor Jimmie's book. Be on the lookout for Drew's book. Go get your t-shirts off the website. And listen, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for hanging out. And we'll see you next time on the Locker Room. Good night for now.
Peace.